Hi friends, it's me, and welcome back to my channel now. If you've been keeping up with the Sister Wives drama, you know that the drama just never ends. In today's video, we're taking a deep dive into the complicated universe of Kody Brown and his wives, the power struggles, the emotional manipulation, and naturally the shocking moments that leave us all thinking, how did we get here? So let me set the scene for you. We're talking about a man who's become notorious for his controlling behavior, a man who says he's living his truth while juggling his wives in ways that frankly leave a lot to be desired. But it's not just about Kody. It's all about the women who are struggling to discover their own happiness and identities in a marriage that's anything but equal. We're discussing power struggles, betrayals, and yes, even the fallout of that infamous catfishing scandal. Trust us, you won't want to miss this analysis. But first, you know what I want you to do. You hit that subscribe button and you join the party, because what's about to happen is getting real really quickly. You ready to dive into the drama? Let's do it, all right? So let's start with the star of the show, Kody Brown. If you've been keeping up with Sister Wives at all, you know there's a pattern here, and it's not a good one from the get-go. It's been apparent that Kody has a way of controlling things, whether it's his relationships with his wives, his children, or even the way the entire family operates. And if you've been paying attention to his treatment of Christine, it's like watching a textbook case of manipulation unfold right in front of our eyes. Now, don't get me wrong. Kody might come off as charming, and he definitely knows how to turn on that chipper personality when it suits him. But behind that smile, it's all about control, the manner in which he speaks to Christine, particularly when she attempts to express herself, is bordering on condescending. He's a master of the game of gaslighting, insisting that she's overreacting, that she's being dramatic, or that she's the one responsible, when in truth, he's the one doing the manipulating. It's as if he doesn't want her to speak, unless she agrees with his story. And let's discuss the misogyny for a moment, because it's glaringly apparent if you listen very carefully to the manner in which he addresses Christine versus the rest of the wives. It's apparent that he doesn't regard her similarly. He's condescending, belittling, and flat-out disrespectful. This isn't simply about marriage dynamics. This is about a man who, in the context of plural marriage, obviously feels he is owed the ability to control the women in his life. When Kody disrespectfully treats Christine, it's not only about their relationship. It's about the entire system that enables men like him to succeed, while women like Christine are supposed to quietly accept their position. And the worst part, he has the nerve to act as if he's doing her a favor by graciously letting her have a say at all. But let's be real here, Christine has her melodrama. Of course we all do, but she's been nothing but solid in trying to hold herself accountable each time she attempts to set her boundaries or express her concerns. Kody shuts her down with that patronizing tone, leaving her feeling as though she's in the wrong for expecting some basic human decency, and yet, in spite of all this, Christine keeps pushing back, refusing to let him crush her spirit entirely now. I just want to ask you, do you find Kody's actions toxic, or do you think he's simply misunderstood? Have you ever had to work with someone who has these types of controlling behaviors in your own life? I'm actually interested in hearing your opinions on this comment below. Let's discuss. Okay. Now let's move attention to the women who have been living in all this chaos. The wives. We've seen each of them go through so much, and quite frankly, they deserve a lot more credit than they've received, especially when it comes to their own personal journeys and how they've managed their lives under Kody's rule. It's honestly like watching different women rise from the ashes of their own struggles. Let's start with Christine, because honestly, her story has been one of the most empowering arcs on the show. We've watched Christine at first as this bubbly, somewhat naive wife who seemed to be in it for the family, trying to make everything work for everyone. But as time passed, we began to see cracks in that idealized picture. It was as if she was gradually discovering That after giving so much, she was receiving very little back, particularly from Kody. The more she attempted to speak up, the more Kody pushed her down, humiliating her in front of all. She was never going to win with him, not unless she surrendered her own identity, but then she finally broke free. It wasn't sudden and it wasn't simple, but we saw the change, right? Christine's epiphany moment that she deserves happiness, that she deserves respect, struck like a ton of bricks, and I get teary, just remembering there she stood, her head held high, stating, "I'm done." She finally chose herself. You can see it in her face. She transitioned from being a woman who tolerated disrespect to one who refused to bend for Kody or anyone else anymore. Her journey is truly a testament to the strength it takes to move out of toxic patterns. Her choice to leave wasn't about her failing. It was about her winning. Christine's happiness wasn't Kody's to control anymore. Now on to Mary, who tell you what has had one of the most complicated and tragic character developments on this show. Right from the start, it was evident that Mary was invested in the concept of what family is supposed to be like. And for her, that involved so desperately trying to get validation from Kody. She did not want to be anything less than loved, wanted, needed. But then sadly, Kody never did seem to give back that energy, rather than being accepted by him. He pushed her further and further away, and in all seriousness, this was her demise. She continued trying to get his approval, as if she were always running after something that wasn't ever going to belong to her. Who can forget the time she got caught up in that catfish scandal? This was a watershed moment for Mary. It exposed her vulnerabilities, her insecurities, and just how desperately she sought out validation from someone. Anyone to fill the emotional void left by Kody's indifference. But over time, and especially as we've seen in the later seasons, Mary is finally starting to wake up. She's realizing that her self-worth isn't tied to Kody's approval. The most significant change is that Mary is beginning to assert control over her own story. She's discovering that she deserves love not only from others, but from herself as well. And then there's Janelle, usually the quiet one, the one who attempts to make the best of things without upsetting the boat. But let me tell you, there's much more to Janelle than being the good wife who maintains the peace. Her passive personality at times makes it difficult for audiences to see the extent of her struggles. But believe me, they're there. If you actually pay attention, you can notice how Janelle is hurt by what Kody has been doing, particularly since he devotes so much energy to the other wives. For Janelle, it's like being trapped in this internal struggle trying to keep her family unit intact while being utterly ignored and underappreciated by the man she once believed she could count on. It's just sad to see her keep it all inside, tolerating Kody's neglect and controlling behavior. But as the seasons pass, there's a subtle strength to Janelle that's irrefutable. She's struggling to hold it all together for the kids, for the family, but you can't help but ask yourself, how much longer can she continue to do that? How many more years before she too escapes as Christine did? And finally, Mary. Oh, where do I start with Mary? Her story gets so overshadowed by Kody's abuse of her, and truly I think she doesn't get nearly enough praise already at the beginning. Mary was the wife most committed to making polygamy a success. She invested in the vision of the big, happy family. She's the one who worked so hard to make it happen. And sometimes it seemed like she was constantly trying to win Kody's affection, only to be disappointed over and over again. Kody's treatment of Mary, particularly in recent seasons, has been almost cruel. She's trapped in this poisonous loop of seeking his approval, even when it's obvious that he's not emotionally available to her, and that, my friends, is self-destructive. She's been the emotional punching bag, repeatedly, feeling inadequate to the man she loved. It hurts to witness. And it's made me question whether or not Mary will ever come to truly understand her own value apart from Kody's approval. I truly hope she does so. I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on Mary's progress? Do you believe the show is crediting her sufficiently for how far she has come, or do you think she still remains caught up in that cycle of self-destruction, of wanting the validation of Kody, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to know your thoughts on this. Let's get deep into something that's really been bugging me for some time, and I know I'm not alone here: Kody's hypocrisy and how he manipulates the family dynamics, like a chessboard. And let's be real. The worst part is the way he's managed to spin the story and make a completely one-sided double standard between his relationships, particularly when it comes to Robyn. If you ask me, the way Kody treats everybody else compared to the way he treats Robyn is straight up outrageous, and there's no arguing with it. So let's dissect this. First of all, let's discuss Kody's double standards, because for real, the man is riddled with contradictions. I don't know how anyone could possibly watch this show and not get annoyed by the manner in which Kody acts. For instance, consider Mary's emotional affair. Remember when all that came out? Mary was completely devastated, and the entire thing created a massive rift within the family. Yes, it was not cheating as far as being physical goes, but it was a betrayal, and it crushed Mary and Kody. Goodness gracious, he had the nerve to be the victim here. He could not get past Mary's emotional infidelity, and he was angry. I mean, the way he lashed out, acting like she had committed the ultimate betrayal. It was almost like he had never made a mistake in his entire life. But fast forward to his own behavior. Not just with Robyn, but with his entire relationship with her. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he clearly favors her. It's deeper than that. Kody's whole relationship with Robyn is founded upon a basis of exclusivity that he never experienced with any of the other wives. He treats her like she's the grand prize, showing her favor in every single circumstance, and while at the same time isolating everyone else. So let me ask you this. Why doesn't Kody hold himself to the same standards that he demands from Mary? Why is he so quick to judge her emotional error, yet totally oblivious to how his relationship with Robyn has completely altered the entire family dynamic? And talking about Robyn, let's discuss her part in all this, because honestly, it's easy not to notice how complicit she's become. And don't get me wrong, I get that Robyn has had her own share of issues, particularly joining the family as a new wife and attempting to work into the pre-existing dynamic. But let's be real, she knows how Kody treats the other wives, and yet she's still standing behind him. I just can't help but wonder, does she really think Kody is the best man and that whatever he does is in the interest of the family? Or is she just delusional into believing this is what polygamy is supposed to be? Either way, she's covering for him, and it's as if she's complicit in the manipulation, even though she attempts to be the understanding wife. Let's not forget that Robyn's place in the family structure has increased significantly since she entered the scene. I mean, the favoritism Kody displays towards Robyn is so obvious that it's almost embarrassing to observe. It's as if he's entirely forgotten the concept of equality that polygamy is all about. Instead, he's constructed an empire around Robyn, an emotional and physical bulwark that totally separates her from the rest of the family, whether it's lavishing her with extra attention, letting her make decisions that impact the whole family, or even the manner in which she's being treated as the first wife. Now it's clear that Kody has placed her on a pedestal that no one else can even hope to reach. You just have to see how Kody's treatment of Christine, Mary, and Janelle has evolved over time. He's begun shutting them out more and more from family matters, leaving them to wonder for themselves, while he gets to be the perfect husband to Robyn. And that's just the beginning of it. Kody's unabashed favoritism has even started breaking down the cohesiveness of the family. He has worked proactively to affect the dynamics among the wives, driving them apart and keeping Robyn at the middle of it. The control is completely undeniable. Now I need to ask you, are you sure that Robyn is totally aware of being manipulated? Or is she so self-absorbed in her own sense of entitlement that she's actually blinded to it all? I mean, we've all seen her act like she's the only one who truly gets Kody, but it's hard not to wonder if she's just turning a blind eye to his manipulative ways. Maybe she's convinced herself that this is the way it should be, or perhaps she knows exactly what's happening and is just deliberately turning a blind eye. Because the payoff in terms of Kody's devotion and attention is just too great to ignore. Whatever it is, though it's obvious that Robyn is no angel in all of this, she's become the face of Kody's control, and it's pretty problematic. I'd love to hear from you. What's your take on Robyn's part in all this drama? Are you thinking that she's as much a player as Kody when it comes to manipulating the others? Or are you thinking she's just being swept up in the drama and not really understanding how it's affecting the other wives? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. All right, now, we're going to discuss one of the saddest and, quite frankly, most infuriating things that took place in the Sister Wives world: Mary's catfishing scandal. I know you guys recall this one. It's possibly one of the most dramatic and emotional parts in the whole show. And what happened afterward left a lot of wounds that continue to influence the family dynamic up to this point. So, let's begin with the catfishing episode itself for anyone who somehow managed to miss it. Here's a brief rundown. Mary, feeling lonely and unwanted in her marriage to Kody, became embroiled in an internet romance with someone who proved to be a total fake. She believed she was conversing with a guy who was providing her with the emotional validation she so desperately sought. But she was actually being duped by someone who was pretending to be a guy and pretending to care about her. It was a typical catfishing situation, and Mary was utterly shattered when the reality was revealed. But here's the thing. While Mary was going through this huge emotional betrayal, this wasn't about some mistake. This was about a woman who was feeling isolated, invisible, and profoundly betrayed. Kody didn't display the sort of sympathy you might expect from a husband. Instead of offering her support, understanding, or even just some reassurance that she wasn't the villain in this story, Kody pretty much shut down. It's heartbreaking, right? Kody's response was cold and unemotional, and he acted like Mary's pain wasn't worth his time. He didn't stand by her or even try to make her feel like she was worthy of his emotional investment. Now, let's discuss public humiliation that Mary endured when it all surfaced. This was not a personal matter. The catfishing saga unfolded on national TV, and Mary had to endure not only Kody's lack of care, but also the whole world judging her. She attempted to restore her marriage and put things in order, but Kody did not care to provide any affirmation. He didn't care that she was desperate for reassurance, rather than recognizing her pain and the vulnerability in which she had reached out for comfort elsewhere. Kody simply threw his hands up and insisted that he didn't know what to do with her. That's a punch no one should ever have to take, especially from the one person who is supposed to have your back. But what did Mary receive? Silence. And worse, blame this situation created a massive divide in the family. Some of the wives tried to support Mary through her emotional turmoil, but others, especially Robyn, let's be honest, acted like nothing happened. It was as if Mary's pain didn't matter. Think about it. Mary's struggle for emotional connection wasn't even acknowledged, and that just deepened the rift between her and the other wives. Robyn, in particular, seemed to ignore the pain Mary was going through, while others distanced themselves, choosing to focus on their own marriages rather than offering a helping hand to their sister wife. It was like Mary was just left to her own devices, and quite frankly, it only made things worse. It's devastating to see a person cry out for assistance and be dumped on the side of the road. Now I need to ask you, my friends, did Mary do the right thing by calling another person for emotional support, or was it an enormous error? Personally, I understand why she did it. She was left all alone and felt totally betrayed by Kody, but I'm interested to know what your opinions are. Was Mary in the wrong for finding comfort somewhere else, or did Kody's failure to support her leave her with no choice but to be disloyal in the first place? Let me hear your opinions in the comments section below. Since this is perhaps the most complex and emotional predicament throughout the entire show, let's pause for a second and explore the larger picture. The plural marriage system itself. particularly as we observe it function on sister wives. If we're being real, there's a lot that's wrong with plural marriage, not only from a social standpoint, but from a psychological one too. And it's difficult to ignore the way Kody and his wives work within a system that's so deeply rooted in a particular religious and cultural context. But when you examine it closely, you begin to realize how poisonous the dynamics actually are. First of all, let's discuss the religious and social expectations on women in polygamous marriages. Now, I know some of you have probably heard this before, but it bears repeating under this system. Women are conditioned to see themselves as good wives if they're obedient to their husbands. Particularly Kody here, they're instructed that their value lies in how well they serve and support him, and honestly, how little they question his rule. It's as if they're supposed to suppress their own needs, wants, and feelings just to keep the family harmonious. Think about how suffocating that would be, theoretically. The women ought to be empowered by their willingness to engage in plural marriages, but practically they're fighting just to live within a system where they end up being competing entities. Such sets the stage so that instead of being supporting women, they're more likely to be rival women. No. Aspect of what this does emotionally to the wives can be emphasized too much. Imagine being one of Kody's wives, always fighting for his attention, affection, and approval. No wonder we witness so much frustration and hurt from them. The wives can't help but feel disempowered, undermined, and even inadequate every second. With Kody, feels like a competition where the victor receives his attention and affection, but the loser receives nothing but emotional loneliness. We've seen it in how Christine breaks down emotionally,